I'm
Discuss.
stressed out, and I don't like having to think like this. Pay 'em all. I
Chest.
don't like this
Say
game.
it with your chest. Lil Jake Ferguson in a contract.
You see my whole body just deflated. I'm not in the mood, guys. I'm not in the mood, bro.
Welcome into episode 6 of the Sky Into I show. It is your boy Skywalker Steel and my twin Aisha Morrison, aka 2I. What's up, girly?
What's up, man? It's hot.
Is it hot in Texas?
Dog, it's getting disrespectfully hot.
Hey, that's the
Listen,
one thing I don't miss about Texas.
hey, it's getting to the point so you go in a grocery store, gas station, you catching a couple of smells, and you better be checking yourself too. It's getting hot. It's getting disrespectful, bro.
In the summer, I could not be outside with my boys hooping for more than 10, 15 minutes. It was dangerous if you did it longer than that at a time, because it wasn't like we was out there just shooting. We was out there playing. You know what I mean?
And it's just the beginning. So if you in Texas, get you some electrolyte. Get you some
electrolyte is something.
Electrolyte
or
electrolytes. No. It says it's a drink. It has electrolytes in it. Get you some Celtic sea salt. Put it in your water. That filter water not doing it. It's not doing it. It's not doing the job. Take care of yourself out there, folks.
Not at all. All right, coming up on this episode, we are going to play a little game of pay or pass, ladies and gentlemen. And this is going to center around the 2022 draft class. So I was looking this up and I'm like, oh, you know what? This 2022 class is one of the better ones they've had since 2016. We all agree 2016 was one of them ones, right? You got your franchise quarterback, Zeke, top 5, although you could argue about later, but Zeke early was like that. You know what I mean? You got Anthony Brown late in the rounds who started a lot of games for you. And Malik Collins was good for you. Jalen had a couple years. It was a really good class. I looked it up, man. 22 has a chance to really fall in line right around there with the Trayvon Diggs, CD Lamb draft. And it really kind of depends, though, on some of these guys and how long they stick around. And all of the core fours, what I'm calling them, from the 2022 draft class, are up for contract extensions now, or potentially could be free agents going into 2025 outside of Tyler Smith, who got the 5th year option, right? So it is a big year. I don't want to call it a make or break year for the 2022 class, but it is one of those payday type years, too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is a lot of guys. Like, that second contract is the hardest one to get for a lot of guys. It's a pivotal one. It's the one that establishes wealth for a lot of guys. And so it's important for them. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll get to see these guys that we talk about have one of their best seasons,
Yeah.
If that's that's what I'm hoping for.
All of them have a career year and
Right.
make the Cowboys sweat when they go to that negotiation table. And if you're not aware of the core 4 we're talking about here, Deron Bland, Tyler Smith, Jake Ferguson, and Jalen Tolbert are all up for extensions right now. And 3 of the 4 will be free agents following this year. So we're going to go down the line and we're going to talk about each one of these gentlemen and break them down a little bit and more so focus on them and not necessarily the room, right? Yeah. Because, a lot of the conversations we have had in the offseason have revolved around the room and competition. But this is more on a personal level for these guys, because they a lot of times these players in contract years play up another level. And you can say, oh, well, it's just a contract year, he won't hold up to it. I'm here to tell you right now, I don't care. If I can get the best version of these dudes and they go to move on, unfortunately, that is what it is. But that's going to help the Cowboys the most.
Yeah. I feel like, and we just talked about this in regards to Jake Ferguson. I feel like when it's time to pay players, it is really weird to see fans kind of like turn like in that weird way. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even know if it's intentional. I think it's something that Cowboys fans do because we are kind of conditioned. I'm not going to say we, because I don't think like that. But I think a lot of fans are conditioned to think that it's not going to happen. So you believe the worst first.
Also,
because you don't know what this team is going to do. So I think it's kind of like setting your own expectations. So then it's so weird. Like as soon as a guy is supposed to get signed, if he's not like a flashy player, people be like, "Well, trade him." Is the what are y'all talking about?
Yep.
What are
Yep.
you talking about? We need this person.
Yeah. And Cowboys front office, a little PTSD with fans too, right? They play around
Facts.
with the monies and the contracts. We're seeing that right now. You might be saying, Sky, too why? You are leaving out the biggest one. Micah Parsons, right? Like who potentially could be up. But that's why I said just the 2022 draft class, because clearly Micah is a totally different animal, different draft class, and he
Mhm.
will be paid, has to be paid, must be paid, Micah Parsons. So sticking with the 2022 class, let's kick it off with first down.
For damn.
I noticed you do that, and it's hilarious, and I never catch it till I run it back, but I like that.
For damn.
First down. We're going to start off with a very intriguing one here, Deron Bland.
Yes.
Because if you would have asked anybody last year towards the end of camp, hey, man, you going to pay or pass on Deron Bland? I don't think anybody's thinking twice about it, right?
Mhm.
Then he suffers a stress fracture in his foot, of all places. That's not a great place to have it for a cornerback. And
Yeah.
he misses a lot of the season. And I believe 10 games, the first 10 games. And I don't believe anyone thought he would miss that many games too. So it was one of those situations where a lot of people were getting concerned about Deron Bland long term in the 2024 season. And just from going back and looking and remembering, it wasn't this obviously it wasn't the same strong year in 2023.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that could have been because of the injury, possibly rust. Maybe there was some trust factor with that. We know a lot of players talk about that, but 2024 wasn't that year for DB, and he's got to bounce back a little bit. And I want to get into a little bit of details with it, but just your overall thoughts on DB's 24 with this upcoming contract potentially looming.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to first start by saying that he did get injured, but this Dallas pass rush, like the secondary suffered because of the lack of pass rush at the beginning of the season specifically. When Michael went out, they wasn't even pinching nobody. And so I do think that played a role in some of the secondary struggles and all that stuff. But as far as Deron Bland, if I'm not mistaken, he had surgery on his foot, yes?
I don't want to speak wrongly here, but I mean, sometimes stress fractures, I think you can just let it heal. Sometimes you do need surgery, but
I hold on. I'm trying to look. My mind is telling me that he did. Yes, he did.
okay.
He had surgery on his I cannot say that word, but
On
he
his
did.
foot.
He had foot surgery during the season. So I do want to say that like a surgery on any level during the season and to come back from that is not nothing to snuff at.
Sure.
We clearly he didn't look exactly the same. I think as the season went on, he did start to look more of himself. But yeah, it was a little harder for him to drive and to it's such a pivotal part of how he plays is to be able to jump routes and to, do
Hmm.
those things and not being able to plant that foot, I think did play a factor. So I am this is a important year for him now. And talking to Deron Bland and spending time with Deron Bland, he is not the type of person that is not gonna go out without, letting you know he's so quiet, but at the same time, his presence, you can feel it. So I think he is poised to bounce back this year, but it is something to think about because when you see a foot injury, foot injuries can be, lingering or,
Right.
continue. I don't know the nature of this though, if it's one of those things that happens and then you fix it and then it's fixed because some stuff is like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
Yeah. Well,
but
last year with his struggles, to me, and it was mostly in man. And that really plays a factor when you're talking about trusting your foot and trusting your health and having to
mhm,
run with the guys. And the play that stands out to me, where I don't think he did believe or trust in himself, and his foot may still have been an issue, was the touchdown he gave up to Jamar Chase. Now Chase is hard as hell to tackle, number one.
yeah,
But if you actually go watch him, and we talk about that drive, it was Jamar Chase catching like a comeback or something like that, a hook maybe, and Deron Bland, who's usually a short tackler, driving down, he thumps guys.
mhm,
He just looked very slow in that transition and not comfortable and sure of himself in making that tackle. And what happens? Jamar Chase gets upfield and scores a touchdown. And He gave up a career worst 115 plus quarterback rating when targeted last year.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw
That's
that.
really bad for DB. He didn't even come close to that in the previous years, but most of that was done out of man. When you
And I
go
mean,
ahead,
and then also too a longer, I mean, it's a shorter sample size when you talk about the numbers and all that stuff. But I do think in regard to him not looking as confident and stuff or looking, not as fast, dog, being out 6 to 8 weeks in football is a long time.
that's what I'm saying. It could have been rust,
You're not even in good
rust and
you're not even
health. And
football shape. I wouldn't even expect for someone to be in, like, football shape. You know what I'm
man, he
saying?
missed
Like,
10
not to
games. The first
yeah.
10 games is nuts.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's a lot to pick up from there. So he is somebody that we probably really gonna have to keep our eye out on, um, in training camp and stuff. Now, dog, I don't know because I also think that you didn't have room for him to not play last year. Like he
I mean,
could
once he was able to play and was cleared, you had to put him out there. There was
no,
no,
no, no, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. But I'm saying like it was one of those things too where he's not just getting back to play. They're trying to get him back to make an impact because you need him to make an impact. And it still wasn't there the same way.
yeah, he played a lot of snaps when he got back. It wasn't like he
He
was eased
did.
in at all.
And that's a part of the reason why I was saying like we have to take all of that into consideration when we're talking about the, you know, I don't know, the lackluster, I guess, maybe performance from him that didn't seem
Sure.
like his norm. But yeah, I mean, I was looking at his numbers as well, and I was just like,
Well, where he
"What?"
where he was better was not man but zone. And man, he was the worst. He was the lowest graded player of the big three in man last year. He gave up, I think, 2 of his 4 touchdowns in man. Obviously, no interceptions, but there is a silver lining. There is some positives to look at here.
Mhm.
DB is a fantastic zone cornerback. He's been great as one of the best zone cornerbacks the last 2 seasons in the
Yeah.
National Football League. And now with Matt Eberflus here, who runs a vision-based defense, or Matt Eberflus would say is eyes on the quarterback, right? And that year where he went all pro, DB just absolutely destroyed teams with his ability to, like you said, click and go, drive downhill, get interceptions, and read. He's a very smart defensive back.
Very smart player.
Yeah,
Yes.
and when you go look at Eberflus's scheme in Chicago, just his last year when he was in Chicago, the top 3 cornerbacks, Kyler Gordon, Tyrese Stevenson, and Jalen
I think
Johnson,
it's Stevenson.
they all played 70% or more zone coverage. The
Mhm.
Cowboys didn't come close to that with their players over the last 2 or 3 years. They
Yeah.
played man coverage less than 20%, all of them. Whereas the Cowboys players were playing man coverage 50, 60% of the time. So you're going to get DB having his eyes on the cue, being able to just play a spot, play a zone, and jump on these routes. And something that you brought up a little bit there, pass rush is going to be totally different, barring injury. These
Yeah.
boys are going to get after these quarterbacks, and their processors are going to be sped up, which means DB is going to play off that, right? Chicken and egg
Mhm.
conversation. Either the pass rush gets there, affects the cue, or you get coverage sacks that affect the cue. So I do think there is a path to him bouncing back under Eberflus. The key question is, we've been talking about it for weeks, where it's going to be. Inside that slot, outside at boundary, because they're figuring that out right now. Figuring it out.
Yeah, speaking of, they just signed a corner that we still have to do some research on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really weird place to be in because obviously him playing boundary is best for him. Him playing nickel might be best for the team right now. So, and then with negotiations and conversations and
Yeah.
all that stuff, that changes his finances. So maybe he balls out and calls his shot, which I do expect. I expect someone like him to do.
That leads me to the pass or the pay or pass. And the way we're going to do it here is we're going to put our cowboy hat on. We're going to
Hmm.
speak from what we think the Cowboys would do here. And I think it hinges on potentially 2 things here. I already call it one. How the hell does Trayvon Diggs look when he comes back? And
Mm,
how do they feel about him in that building, by the way? That's another aspect. And also,
mhm.
maybe under the same umbrella, how does Young Buck, Savon Revel, I'm sorry, how does he look in his year one. Because if those guys gain the trust of this front office, there's potential that they say, well, we're not going to pay two corners, right? And then you're debating on 7 or you're debating on DB. So it's really hard for me to say pay or pass at this moment. But if I had to guess based off the information right now, what the Cowboys would want to do, I think they want to pay him because he's a guy that they know will work hard, will be available. He's not going to be a problem. I'm not saying that the other guy is a problem, but he was in a certain aspect. And you can save some money by getting rid of, they're talking about Trayvon Diggs here, and use that money to pay Bland. I am still not sure if they're going to want to pay both of them. So I'm going to say they're going to pay, but I do think it depends on Revel. I need to get that name right.
It's
And
hard.
Diggs.
It's hard. I be messing it up
I do.
too. I be messing up too. I listen, Sky. Who's the better corner right now
Out of?
out of Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs?
I think
Who's
Bland
the
is more well-rounded and
I agree.
available. I
I
mean,
agree.
is what it is.
I agree. I don't. This is hard. I mean, thinking about them not paying two corners, it is kind of weird to even say that out loud. Like, I don't even remember when's the last time a team paid two corners like that.
Uh, is Kansas City doing it? I'm not sure if Kansas City's doing it right now, but it's not like you always have two All Pros. you know,
Facts, and I mean that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, I guess. Oh my god, I I would keep Deron Bland.
what do you
I
think the
would keep.
Cowboys are going to do?
I think the Cowboys. It really depends because with
Right.
Trayvon, it if you were going to try to move him or anything like that, like has that ship sailed because of the injury, because of his contract, because of those things, and the way that the money falls as we get into things, is it going to be a situation where maybe they really want to sign Deron Bland, but it's not there to do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think obviously we see good teams make the money show up.
Right.
They make money, bippity boppity boo. But
Look, if they're going to move on from Diggs, I don't think it's going to be this year. I don't think it's going to be a
oh
trade. I don't
no,
think it's going to be a cut. It'll be
it wouldn't be
it'll
fair.
be it'll be next year. You need all these guys this season. It'll be next year with the thought process of we want Duran over him. If they decide not to pay two, if they say screw it, we're going to pay both. They can keep both.
Okay, but then also too, you got to think like this is the thing that I'm having trouble dealing with in the league right now, and with the Cowboys too. Deron Bland played for the Sacramento State Hornets, the Fresno State Bulldogs. He came in the 5th round to the Cowboys.
Yes.
He got coaching, developed, become one of the best cornerbacks in football. If this isn't the type of person you sign, what are you doing this for? And I know that maybe that's not how football works. Maybe I'm in my fifis. I don't know.
Which
But this is what we're supposed to be. This is you find talent in the mid rounds, you develop it. Clearly, somebody missed on him. The
true.
Cowboy scouts didn't, but clearly there are teams beating themselves up about him. It is a luxury to have a corner that can play inside, outside, tackles, can fit into multiple schemes, has intellect. I
The
don't know. If you
character.
can't find a way to sign great character, great guy, no problems off the field. If you can't find a way to sign this guy, what are we doing it for?
I don't think they're I don't think they won't find a way to sign him. I think it'll come down to do they want to keep him or Diggs?
And both. Yeah,
Yeah, or both. I think that'll be the question. Because like you said, I mean, this dude checks all the boxes as long as he comes
all of
back
them.
better, right? Like if he comes back and he plays better, closer to his 2023 form, it's a no-brainer to re-sign him. But knowing the Cowboys, I feel like they'll decide. And that then depends on Diggs. That depends on Revel, right? Maybe not so. I should be putting that pressure on the young buck. But
Yeah, he's
Diggs.
just nugget.
Yeah,
He's
if
just
Diggs
nugget.
doesn't come back as, Diggs prior to the injury or what have you, and he doesn't gain the trust of that building, you can say what you want to say, Cowboys Nation. there will be rumblings that they will look to try to possibly move on because there is more than just the on-field thing with Diggs.
See, but the thing is also too is like, is it even realistic to set that expectation from him?
Who
Coming
Diggs?
back from what yeah, coming back from
Yeah.
what he's coming back from. Is it even realistic to think that he is going to be himself, quote unquote? We ain't seen this man on the field in a minute.
Since what, week 12? I think it's the Cincinnati game. I think that might have been whatever that was, whenever that game
Like,
was.
so it's like just the idea of even expecting for him to be that is not I don't even the evaluators got a tough
They
gig
do. Because
because this
uh,
is a lot.
unfortunately, this football. Like,
Yeah,
you
facts,
know what I'm
facts.
saying?
You gotta put together a roster, bro.
Unfortunately, bro, when you
It
get
don't
ready and
matter.
you out there, you need to go perform. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Especially if you are under the pressure cooker. If you are the
Mhm,
heat is on,
mhm.
and the heat is on because they can get out that contract. So he can't go in that thing like, you know what? I got a red shirt. I could cruise. I can chill because I'm signed to the contract and they're not gonna move on. Nah, player. No, you got to go out there and show them something, and really not just on the field, because obviously I think Diggs playing will do that, but
Yeah.
show them that you want to be there as well. That's all I'm gonna say.
I wanna say, and this will be my last thing on this conversation about Bland. I think this is more about whether they bring back Diggs. Well, yeah, whether they choose to bring back Duran or Diggs is more contingent on Savon Revel
Is it another
than
factor?
Duran. I think his timeline, I think that kiddo's timeline,
Right?
and
Because what if he go out there and ball?
that's what I'm saying. Like if he, because he's supposed to be ready for camp. I don't know what that means. I have seen him at practices and he's moving. I mean, he's not. I'm not. I haven't seen him do like full on sprints yet. Maybe I'm not seeing that part. But as far as like how quickly he's moving
Yeah,
with the things he's being asked to do, I mean, y'all, honestly, Josh Butler tore his ACL last year, and he in doing full sprints, cutting, doing all this
I'll be
stuff. Like it,
shocked if he's ready anytime soon. He tore his in December.
I know you
Yeah,
feel like that, but it's I don't know what it is. It's like they Pokemon or something.
yeah, but
Like
that
they
I highly doubt Josh Butler's gonna be ready for this season.
what I'm saying is that these guys are conditioned better and all those things to be at least available in that way. Cause so for Ravel, it's like, is he gonna start or Revel rather, is if he really comes out in training camp, I mean, him just even getting that start is good for him. Him, if he gets any type of preseason reps, is good for him.
I,
I don't know.
he needs it.
Reps rather.
Yeah, yeah, he
So I
needs
think
that.
it's yeah, I think that's gonna be important is the timelines on these guys because the sooner the better with both of them, but we can't push anybody out there right now.
Told you, Deron Bland is the most interesting one on this list because again, if you'd asked me
Oh
this
my
last year, I
god.
don't even think it's that complicated of a decision.
No.
But I do think it is more complicated now, given what transpired with Diggs and then the drafting of Revel and then the
Mhm.
injury to Bland and his
Yeah,
play.
the
Like
foot.
it's a lot. It's a lot for. I think this one is going to be the toughest one. So Cowboys Nation chat, let me know. Would you pay or pass on Deron Bland? I think the Cowboys will pay because I think he's going to play up to it. But the caveat could be, is it him or Diggs? That is a question we'll tackle here over the next 8 months or whatever it is.
Um,
It'll be interesting.
yeah.
Let's get to.
I'm stressed out
I
already.
know. I told you that was the one. I knew that one was going to be the toughest one of all of these. I think because of so much that surrounds it. The rest, I think, it'll be a little bit more smooth sailing here. Number two.
Mhm.
Speaking of smooth, Jalen Tolbert. Now I know they're going back. What you mean? What you mean? He just looks
Lord.
smooth out there to me. Not saying that it means he's the best, or he's just like a smoother player. But anyway, Jalen Tolbert. We've had this conversation for many months now. Regards to wide receiver 3, but just him individually and not the entire room. It being a contract year, him coming off a career year, by the way, improving in many different areas. Right, we're talking about 600 something yards, 7 touchdowns. He was third in the league in red zone touchdowns. He has improved his yards separation, his average separation each year up to 2.7 from
Mhm.
1.3. His rookie year was 1.3 to 2.7, which was better than an AJ Brown, right at the same rate as a Malik Neighbors, and and these guys play in better systems, in my opinion. So we can say what we want to say about Jalen Tolbert, wide receiver 2, or even if you're not a fan of him as wide receiver 3, what you can't deny is that he has improved, right?
Yeah.
So now he's coming into this contract year, and maybe there's certain numbers that take a step back because of other guys being here and Pickens or whatnot. But I don't think they need to ask Jalen Tolbert to be 1,000-yard receiver for him to get to play well enough in the contract year to get some money in free agency.
Yeah, man. This is, bringing in, this is why bringing in Pickens is a big deal because if you're asking him to be your wide receiver 3, which I think if your wide receiver 3 can go out there and get you 600 yards, and how many TDs did he have? What,
7.
7? Yeah, that's a solid wide receiver 3, man.
That's top
What
wide receiver 3 numbers if that's the case.
facts. I mean, and I know a lot of people, kind of are over Jalen Tolbert. I don't think that he got any favors last year with how the offense was and all that stuff, but he still made the best out of it. And also, too, I think it was important that he showed he could play with another quarterback because I think he did kind of get that label for a while that if it wasn't Dak out there at practice or training camp, that he wasn't popping off the screen. But nah, like, and I wanted to do the digging on it. I should have. I've been getting my tail whipped busy. But I wanted to see how many third down grabs he had, how many fourth down grabs he had. I mean, that's something we can look up. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he seemed like he was a clutch player in that sense, if that's what you're getting
yes,
at.
he definitely became the quarterbacks, every quarterback that plays favorite target in the scramble drill. But I know even in watching him in practice during mini camp and OTAs, he is Dax to me right now, one of his favorite targets in the scramble drill. That like
Yeah.
that's who he's looking for. And obviously we've heard Shotty talk about him. He's a guy that's well liked in the building. And I mean, unless so okay, wait a second. I ask you this. So if the Cowboys so Mingo's on this roster right now.
Yeah, I think he'll be on the roster. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, of course Mingo's on the roster right now. But I'm saying like what would make you think that they were interested in keeping Jalen Tolbert?
So before I get to my answer of whether to pay or pass on Jalen Tolbert, I kind of want to bring it back to kind of what I envision Jalen Tolbert's year
Mhm.
looking like. Because with George Pickens here, naturally, I think you're going to see certain guys targets, maybe yards, receptions, whatever, production possibly take a dip in certain areas. But where I'm
Mhm.
looking at now with with Pickens here is more efficiency from the other players because
Yeah,
they're not going to see a lot of or the same amount of targets. Maybe they'll see decent amount. Like Tober only had 49 receptions last year, but he had 600 yards. So I
right.
can live with that if that's what it's going to be. However, I've been comparing some of our players to certain players on different teams that might run a similar offense, and I always go back to the Rams. And I'm like, if Jalen Tolbert can be Demarcus Robinson this year, I think we all are jumping for joy. Demarcus Robinson was
Dog.
an extremely efficient wide receiver 3 sometimes, wide receiver 4 sometimes. And him and Tutu Atwell flip flopped. But Robinson finished with
Yes.
500 yards on just 31 receptions and 7 touchdowns. So, what say you if Tolbert finishes a year with 30, 35 receptions, 500, and 7 tutties? We're talking about a good year, right?
Yeah, we keep them. You keep them. I mean, even Shotty's talked about when you talk about being multiple and multiplicity, that ties into kind of what you're saying, Sky, is you know, if defenses somehow figure out a way to take away, CD and slow down Pickens, you got another guy that can, make people have to think about. That's the whole point. That's what I care about is having multiple humans lace up that people have to be like, hey, we need to keep our eye on number one because he can gash us. Like it doesn't matter if he's not. We're looking for efficiency.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like
saying. Yeah.
every time you touch the ball, make a difference because putting that tape out there is going to make people look at it and be like, okay, well, we kind of want to roll coverage over here, but if not, this guy's going to kill us on third down. I
Yeah.
want that. And honestly, we talk about a lot of wide receiver duos, but baby, if you got a third, if you
Or
really have a
multiple
third,
third. When I say multiple
multiple thirds,
thirds,
obviously you have
yeah,
Turpin and yeah, like if
potentially
you
Mingo. Yeah.
yeah, and potentially Mingo, depending on the situation. I don't know, man. I'm at a point to where I'm like, Do we draft or develop or not? Do we draft or develop or not? And again, like you said, if he is another 600-yard, 7 TD guy or whatever, even if that drops a little bit, is he efficient? Does he contribute? Everyone doesn't have to be a star on a team.
Right.
So, I mean, if you feel like you can go out and draft another guy and he'll be better, whatever, fine. But I
So I'll take your question and turn it on you. What signals? What you said? What signals? Right? What kind of clues or what have you would give you belief that they would want to bring him back?
um I think it would be contingent obviously on the usage. Dak being healthy. Dak staying on the field. I don't know, man. I guess it would just be the efficiency. Like if he made a difference when he was on the field. I know for a fact, like if me and you were looking at him from a physical standpoint and are like, hey, we need better blocking on the outside from you, boss. We need you to be a little bit more physical, getting off a press or whatever the case may be. Then that's maybe something. I mean, Junior Adams, that's what you're here for.
Sure.
Like also too, I've said it once, I've said it again, and this is no knock to Robert Prince. I think that you've taken a step up with the position, especially with the track record, possibly to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I'll answer your question
I'm
now.
scared because when's the last time we cared about signing a three? As a matter of fact, like what if Pickens have a big year? What if
I'm
Pickens have a
just
big year and they just
you
like, you know
you
what, we
think
only
it's
need
there? You go.
two.
You think it's pass? They're gonna pass.
I'm
They're
stressed.
going to pass. What clue? What sign? Ain't none.
There is no sign because
There
I
is no
literally just
sign.
asked myself, like, when's the last time they prioritized the three
Listen,
receiver
you
barnacles?
was giving the answer to. There's somebody they can probably draft or develop to do what they're going to ask Jalen Tolbert to potentially do. Here's a caveat,
What could
and
he
don't
basically?
you brought it up. The chemistry with Dak is real. Like that
Yeah,
when they're breaking the pocket and things like that, he is a guy he trusts to look for. We've seen him do it on the sideline throws, coming back.
he requested this nugget.
Yeah. So he trusts him a lot. But let's
Mhm.
be for real. George
No,
Pickens is probably getting paid. I know some people believe it's a 1 year deal. So you're not paying George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and Jalen. I don't care if Jalen Tolbert's $10 million a year, whatever you want. It's not happening.
yeah,
Especially when you traded a fourth round pick for Mingo, who you hope can show enough. I mean, if Mingo, again, we can go week to week. Maybe it's Mingo 1 week, maybe it's Tolbert, maybe it's Turp.
maybe.
And Mingo has an extra year, fam. He would, even if he has if he has a Laurent Robinson year, they're still not bringing him back. They didn't bring Laurent back. So I think the Cowboys are going to pass, and Tolbert will be playing elsewhere next year.
Yeah, I literally just, I'm telling you, as I was talking about it, I said to myself,
There's, it's
He
when they
they're not
went
gonna play a number 3 receiver. They
when they
don't
went and
care
got
about
Pickens.
that.
If they didn't get Pickens and Tolbert put up like a 1,209 year, oh, Dallas probably would, and it looked really good. Dallas would have probably thought about bringing him back, but he's not. He's not Pickens, man. And you're
So
going to
you think
prioritize
they
him.
prioritize if Pickens has a good year, they prioritize just having a, and that's why I was saying, that's why I was
Yeah.
thinking about it. I was like, we see wide receiver tandems.
Mm-hmm.
We no see wide receiver like
We know.
triplets.
See, it's crazy.
We no see that.
No, you see it, but you see it with that third dude or whoever the three is. It could be an outside guy, it could be an inside guy, not on a big contract,
Yeah,
right?
maybe it's like an older veteran or
Right.
a rook that's come in and has played well. Barnacles.
Huh?
Well,
Whole squad, pay or pass. I think the Cowboys are going to pass.
okay. I I think they're gonna I think they're gonna pass.
Say it with your
I
chest.
don't like this game.
Say it with your chest, Lil. Hmm? Say it with
Hi,
your
my
chest, too
children
high.
are around. Uh,
They gonna
they're gonna
pass. They
pass.
gonna pass. Here we go. Hey, squad, let us know in the chat, man. Pass or pay. Pay or pass.
This is cruel.
Let's get the third down. Let's get the third down. This one,
They're down.
this one,
This is cruel.
this one might surprise some people too here. Jake Ferguson in a contract.
You see my whole body just deflated. I'm not in the mood, Sky. I'm not in the mood, bro.
This is hurtful to two. Hey, look, you got to have these difficult conversations sometime because they're going to have these conversations in the building. They're probably having them now, right? Or what have you. So, look, Jake Ferg, one of the heartbeats of 2023, right? And that's what,
Mm-hmm.
you brought up, when players are up for contracts, fans turn. I just have to chuckle because it's those same fans who were like, "Hey, Ferg's a dog. That's our guy, Ferg." And then and next year, the bull get his brains knocked out, and he don't know where he at, and his knee all messed up. And Cooper Rush throw him the ball for most of the year, and all of a sudden, hey, trade Ferg or get Ferg out of here, or whatever it is, right? Um, so I just had to chuckle a little bit. Shotty was asked about Ferg, and he said, "Hey man, what do you think about that year?" He said, "An anomaly." He's like, "That
Facts.
ain't
He
that."
he said it hard
Shut that
too. He
shit
said it
down immediately.
assertively, very quick.
He said, "That's a fluke. What you talking about?" And I agree. I think there's so much context layered in his season last year that is not talked about enough, in my opinion. And I get
Oh
it. No one really cares about context anymore. It's just, oh, he had a bad year, and he did have a
no.
down year. But let me just throw out
Mhm.
some numbers to you here, Tuai, that I've talked about months ago. I mean, right when the season ended, Jake Ferguson in a down year, right? He admitted to it. We seen it. He fumbled the ball a lot, things like that. In a down year, struggling with his mental because, and that's something you can speak to if you want, because of the concussion. He was on pace under Dak Prescott to have 800 receiving yards over a 17 game span. He was averaging about 50 yards a game under Dak Prescott. He played 7 games, full games with Dak. In 5 of those games, he had 6 or more receptions. Okay. Cooper Rush steps in. And normally, what happens with the backup, they have more of a connection with the backup players.
Right.
So he steps in. His targets go from 7 a game to 4. His yards go from 50 per game to 24.
Barnacles.
And people just completely dismiss that aspect of it. Not to mention, Ferg told you guys in the locker room, or it might have been outside the locker room, hey, we were asked to do different things this year. And you often brought that up about being an extension of the offensive line. So he had to pass block more, he had to chip more.
Mhm.
His average depth per target shrunk almost 2 full yards.
It's insane.
That's insane. And the reason why, he was block, 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 chip, 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 get out in the
Chipping.
flat. We called him during the season, me and Jesse, all flats fry hard.
Bye.
He was
Y'all
all
are going to
flats
jail.
fried hard. With all of that said, and I'll get off my soapbox here,
Okay.
Jake Ferguson, in a down year with the injuries, with the backup quarterback, still led the league in missed tackles forced. And that is Jake's superpower. They
Very
have to
much so.
find a way to get Jake back involved with what he does best, and that's get him out in space, get him up that seam, and make these little DBs pay when they try to tackle his ass.
Yeah, and those are some things that we saw on a minimal level at minicamp and OTAs is that it looks like they are trying to get him obviously get that seam route back established because that's just Dak's favorite. And also too, one thing about Ferg that I love, and I think this is something you see with tight ends as they develop,
Mm.
they start to look like a tight end. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just a way that they catch the ball and they attack angles, the way they can shift their hips and make guys what?
Understanding when to sit down. Oh, no, I'm just like, yeah,
Oh yeah,
understanding when to sit
understanding when to
down in that
sit
soft
down.
spot. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And you can see that that's something that he's I think it came naturally to him anyway, but I think he's growing into that. I'm glad that you referenced the way that these tight ends were having a block. And it was really weird with the McCarthy era, and I'm not going to sit on it too long. But it was really weird to me because I expected more from Mike McCarthy. And this could have been because of the roster and all this stuff. I don't know. But I expected more creative usage and stuff with the tight ends than what we got, given the fact.
You used the word creative with
Well,
McCarthy.
I'm not gonna say maybe I'm not even gonna say creative. I would just maybe consistent, maybe
Yeah.
just
Feature him more.
like tight ends were so important. I mean, those Packers teams had some fantastic tight ends. And I expected for that to kind of resonate here in Dallas. And it just felt like it was not happening consistently in the way that I thought it would. And I can say I feel like the tight end room might have felt like that as well.
He
Is that
I
their
think he
usage
said it,
was
didn't he?
not yeah, that their usage was not as consistent and adamant as they would want it to be. So I know he's hungry this year. Now, in regard to the passing or whatever, I don't think you got room to do that. I'm I'm gonna ask you, Sky, when was the last time this tight end room was like solidified? Like we knew who was what. Like we even said last year it was Jake Ferguson, and we was trying to figure out who the next guy was gonna be. As a matter of fact, when he went down, we were waiting for someone to take over in that spot. And I know a lot of people want to talk about Brevin and all this stuff, and I love me some Brevin too. But tight end rooms are not meant to just be one guy. That's just not how it's not how it's meant to be. Now you might have some auxiliary guys, but this he you gotta have a foundation for your tight end room.
Yeah, there's a blueprint that the Cowboys have been following over the years,
Mm,
and I'm a big time Ferg believer in being a weapon
mm,
at the tight end position. In fact, if just bear with me here for a second, I talked about George Pickens coming in here and it's likely going to take down some of these targets and yards. I do think Ferg could potentially be a product of his target share, possibly dipping a little bit. But what
yeah,
you want from Ferg, and hear me out, Cowboys Nation, you don't need Ferg to be Trey McBride. You need Ferg to be Mark Andrews. And you might be like, the hell are you
no,
talking
that's
about?
fair.
Trey McBride was option one
Mm,
over there in Arizona. Dude had like 140 targets. Insane. Like 1,100 yards receiving. That's just, tight ends aren't supposed to do that, even though like four of them did have 1,000 yards last year. But 140 targets is insane for a tight end. But guess what? He only had 2 touchdowns. Mark
mm,
Andrews, on the other hand, I believe Mark Andrews had, I don't even know if he is serious, 69 targets. 69 targets, 600 plus yards, 11 touchdowns. If I
mm.
can live in a world where Jake is getting me 50, 55 receptions, 500, 600 yards, and is getting me 7, 8 touchdowns, that efficient part we talk about, right? I can live in that world for Jake Ferguson. I don't need him. Last year, you talk about it a lot. Man, he was our wide receiver too. Like Jake and
Facts.
teams, you often I think you used to refer to that Detroit game. They were trying to take away Jake Ferguson last year.
It was intentional.
Yeah,
Yes, they were they you could tell they game plan to make sure he wasn't
right.
a huge factor. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So if teams aren't going to be able to do that because you got Pickens out here, so you can't pay too much attention to him. So I don't need him to get 95, 110 targets, 75, 100 receptions. Nah, if I float in that 50 to 65 range, that 500 to 600 yards, maybe 700 yard range, that 6 to 8 touchdown range, but it's efficient. Now we're cooking with Jake Ferguson for 2025, but they have to get him back involved in the red zone too. I don't know why they stopped going to him in that red zone. It was a travesty. 5 targets
I
last year in the red zone.
well, I'm gonna that's the next part, and that this is the only part. And I listen, Jake Ferguson is one of my favorite tight ends to play for the Cowboys. I noticed him at the Senior Bowl and I was like, who's that? So this is not to talk negatively about him, but I will say that concussion that he had sounded like it was serious. And is there any worry of that? Tight ends take some brutal hits, dog.
Hmm.
Over that middle, there's
He's taking some.
your quarterback got to yeah your quarterback got to place it, but you also have to be prepared for that. And I wonder specifically with the red zone thing. I don't think the play caller was good enough to call plays on the red zone. I hate to say it. You couldn't run the ball. That was part of the reason. But the play caller,
I mean, dude, you could be the worst run team. You can be it's inexcusable when you get down there to have a guy who led the league in 2023 in red zone
Mhm.
targets to all of a sudden go from, I think he has somewhere around 25 or so targets in the red zone to 5.
Yeah,
It
that's
don't
what I'm
even
saying.
take a rocket scientist to say, oh, 84 is lined up on, spread them out, throw it up. Like, Fergo, get that thing.
I mean, I agree. But I also think your backup quarterback is throwing into all those tight windows wasn't his game.
Yeah,
Also.
that's fair.
But I want to add on to the field being condensed in the way it is and all those things is maybe setting him up in the middle of the red zone wasn't safe for him. I don't know.
Well, you
I'm
can't coach that way. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
you
Like,
can't coach that way. I'm
yeah,
just saying, like, the guy was getting even
either
when he came back, he was getting lit up, dog.
then he
He was
can't be
getting
on the
lit.
field. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And that's
yeah.
and that was my last point was I don't I
I
I
know
don't
what
know.
you're trying. I know what you're trying not to say to protect the player, but
No, I care about the player, and you know me, I always care about the player. The player's gonna
I
wanna
mean his
play, the player's
business.
gonna wanna be on the field.
Protect
Absolutely.
his business. So that's why I said, from a mental standpoint, the concussion affected Ferg more than I think what was publicly let on.
Yeah,
But they're football players. These guys have a different. Their screws are loose. You know,
yeah.
even though he probably should have been out there, but when you're out there, it's the inhumane thing, right? When you're out there, this is the standard of the level of play we expect you to play at. And he even said it. You know, I didn't play to that level, and that's just facts.
Yeah, he knows he didn't. He knows he didn't. I think it like I said, I think the red zone stuff could have been a lot of the play caller and the quarterback's inability to really like fit the ball into those small spots. And especially when your offense is struggling to have any turnovers in the red zone, brutal.
Yeah, it
And
was
maybe
bad.
maybe they were playing it safe. I don't know. But I think you bring back Ferg.
Okay.
I
So
think you need
pass or pay. You're going to pay for
I
that.
would pay him. I mean,
Or
really,
I'm sorry. What do you think the Cowboys would do? Because
I think the Cowboys, if he has a good season this year, will pay him because we, dog. I'm not trying. When is the last time? Maybe Dalton Schultz was the last
I about to say
guy,
Schultz. Yeah.
but this tight end room has been in limbo for years.
So that goes back to my blueprint. I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to pass, uh,
So what's gonna happen?
based off their blueprint. The Cowboys haven't paid a tight end since oh boy, Jason Witten.
I know, and
The,
that's the problem.
it's not really though.
I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem because regardless of if you can get better at that position, you can get healthier, you can get younger, whatever. You need to have someone. There's why is it so? Why do veterans matter in every one of these position groups except for tight end?
I don't.
Why is having like established veterans at these
I
spots
don't think it
matter?
doesn't not. I don't think it doesn't matter, right? Like
It's too much of a
Ferg is a young
complicated
veteran.
position. Yes, but it's too much of a complicated position for you to not have no salty dogs in there at all.
Sure.
I don't believe that. I don't think you set up rookies or young guys to have success. Like literally, and this is even talking about Schoolmaker. Schoolmaker came in here and he came in to with two nuggets. I mean, Hendershot and Ferg were babies,
Yeah.
and he learning from them, and they learning.
Yeah.
I
And
don't know. I just think
Ferg had
the
Schultz.
this exactly, but this I
But you
just
can
think
go
this
sign
off
a veteran tight end.
you can, and maybe that's a whole nother
Mm-hmm.
conversation of like who's gonna be available next year or whatever. And if you can upgrade, they're fine. I just I'm a firm believer that like some people are important enough for you to keep to continue to build upon something. Because if you let go of Ferg, you don't got no foundation there no more. You don't like that's just because
Well,
or is
they
you
do.
starting a new one?
I was about to say there's a blueprint to eyes. What I'm getting at here.
No.
You have to. There's a blueprint. This is what they do. Jason Witten gets drafted, or Jason Witten comes back and he, usurps. I think it was at the time Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz, but they were preparing for his departure with a Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz comes in. Schultz is your guy for 3 or 4 years, whatever. They did the franchise tag, so I think it was 4 years. In the middle of that, what did they do? They drafted Jake Ferguson. They knew they were not going to keep Dalton Schultz around long. So once Dalton Schultz left, boom, Jake Ferguson steps right in. Jake Ferguson has, I think it was good his rookie year. I think it was fantastic his second year, third year, not so well. He would have to, I think, have a fantastic year for them to be like, yeah, we're going to
For
pay
them
him.
to keep him.
But
What do you
so then they draft Schoolmaker, who I don't think is the heir apparent, but that was, I think, their thought process, which is, if you go back and watch my reaction and my thought process, I kept saying, why the hell would they do that? Are they not seeing Jake Ferguson's rookie season? He was fantastic
right?
for a rookie. So I think he can be your long-term guy. So again, the question isn't what Sky would do. It's what do you think the Cowboys would do? And
Oh,
the
I keep forgetting
Cowboys
that part.
blueprint has been to recycle these tight ends. And as much as I love Ferg, Ferg would have to beat George Kittle and Travis Kelce literally. Not the whole always Travis Kelce light. And I love Ferg, but he would have to be option 1A, 1B, 1C would literally have to be a guy that they are going to target 90 to 115 times, I think, for the Cowboys to pay. So operating in a Cowboys mentality, and anybody out there watching knows I love Ferg. I can easily see a world where they pass on Ferg because they think a guy like Brevin Spanford, who they're trying to line up with, maybe a guy like Schoonmaker, and you said it, it's more than one guy, right? And that's why they go out and they get these other guys and then they can coach up or potentially sign a cheaper free agent veteran to help these guys. So I think the Cowboys, there's a high possibility they will pass. And that hurts me to say because I'm a big fan of Ferg.
I hate it here.
You got to have these difficult conversations, man.
I'm tired of this church. Have you seen, have you seen that video? I'm tired of this church.
I might drop that in here.
But
yeah,
nah, man.
when you were going, I'll let you cook. Hold on, where's the button at? Because I don't say let him cook, but I gotta let her cook. I gotta find that thing. But I let you cook because I feel you if it was me. But I'm thinking like the Cowboys, and that's been their blueprint, man. It's been their blueprint.
But okay, but you just mentioned the blueprint in reference to them thinking that Schoonmaker was the guy.
Not necessarily him by himself.
I'm saying I know not him by himself, but to kind of transition and then Brevin. Do you think that situation, that wrench in it, like Schoonmaker not showing up the way, maybe to throw a wrench in it?
Yeah, because think about this for a second. We can kind of
Look,
tie
I'm
this.
hopeful. Look at me being hopeful.
We can tie this into like the DB thing. Could the Ferguson situation be contingent on Brevin Spanford and the Schoonmaker taking a step? Right? Like if they don't take that step, then do they do what they did a few years ago with Dalton Schultz and tag Ferg, where it's only going to cost roughly 10, 11 million. I don't think it's going to cost too much to do 1 year.
I can see that.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a possibility. But beyond Spanford and Schoonmaker, Ferg is going to have to bounce back. Like that's number one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Ferg has to bounce back.
He has to play better. He has to. He has to play better. Even all the reasons that we gave why he didn't play well, like he still has to perform. Like we're not gonna sit up here. We ain't coddling nobody.
Nope.
But we're being honest.
You can't fumble.
About
you can't
what
drop passes.
On.
You got to block better.
Yeah.
All these guys are not. No one's perfect. They all have things to work on. But he does have a superpower, in my opinion. I think he's, without a shadow of a doubt, your best receiving option at tight end. I think he's a fantastic red zone option. They have to lean into his strengths this year. And I do think.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see. Yeah, I think. Sorry, I think we are going to see them attack the middle of the field. I do think we're going to see them try to get him out in space. Saw some of that, but I do also think we're going to see more play action in this offense, and I think he's going to be a big part of that. So, yeah,
I done put too high in the blender. I knew this was going to be a good one, but I didn't think I'd put you in the blender this bad. Look, it's difficult. I keep saying it because you've got 4, I think, quality guys, and what I mean by they all play different. They're all quality in a different way. You got Ferg, who I think is a quality tight end one that can be a weapon. I think Tober can be a quality depth piece in the receiver room since he doesn't have to be your top guy. DB is obviously a quality corner, but they all come with these questions. They all come with these, but you know what I mean, type of situations.
Mm-hmm.
Except, and we're getting the 4th down here. This guy.
4th down.
4th down, we're talking Tyler Smith. Ain't a damn thing button about him. Nothing. I'm just going to start backwards right now. Pay him. I mean, just pay. I ain't no pass. Ain't no playing around. Ain't no getting cute. Because ain't no cute in football. You pay Tyler Smith 2-time or 3-time. 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. He's one of the best young guards in the National Football League. You get that man synced up with your young buck center and that and dog on the other side and Tyler Booker. And you have, because I'm fired up about what they call him, T-Sizzle? T-Sizzle. Checks all the boxes. He's smart, strong, physical, wants to be a Cowboys from the state. Like, come on, man. I just pay the man. Stop playing.
And he's become the guy that is like following in the footsteps of the Martins and Tyron
Tyrants,
Smith
yeah.
is literally using the things that they taught him to echo. He's become one of the NFLPA reps as well. Like he's very well rounded and
Yes.
connected in the locker room. A lot of the guys like him. He's done it right. He came in, he had his fair share of issues we were worried about. He has been so flexible and patient because he could have, like, I do think that Tyler is gonna be to a point to where if they ask him to move to left guard, he can say no, like Zach Martin one day. Yeah,
You
like
mean left tackle?
left tackle.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if they asked him to move to left tackle and things like that, a lot of guys can't do that and do it well, and also not experience injury and stuff like that. He has not only kept his body up, but also made sure that when he was out there, that he was flexible. I'll say that. I'll say he's been flexible. But with this division, baby, you need your interior to be strong, and I do think he makes a difference out there. He
Oh
can
yeah.
neutralize some of the guys. I ain't gonna completely take. It's gonna be a dogfight every time, but he was brought in for that reason, and he's lived up to the hype, especially at that left guard position. So this is a no-brainer.
No
It
brainer.
shouldn't even be a whole bunch of conversation. But you know what? I could be, on repeat, but it sounds like I'm talking about number 11 too. So
Mm,
here we are.
that is
Because
true.
we're sitting up here saying for them, if you were the Cowboys, what would you do?
Right.
This 11 would be signed, chilling, got his
Signed,
toes out
sealed,
somewhere.
delivered. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wouldn't
Yeah.
even have went into the season talking about contract
No, this wouldn't be a discussion, but also too, um, I think Tyler Smith signed
agents.
a new agent as well this off
I want
season.
to say
And
Todd
is it
France, right? I think he's with
yeah,
Dax Peoples.
yeah, I think it's Todd France.
Yeah.
So
Oh, he's
he's
getting
gonna
the
want his
bag, man.
he's gonna want his money, and I just don't. I hope that this is one of those quick, fast, not a whole bunch of discussion, whatever. Maybe it's because he's an offensive lineman and he's not like in that limelight like Micah. It won't be as like
It
hoo.
won't too high.
But just do it.
We,
Do the
we
damn thing.
we talk
Oh, I keep
about
hitting my camera. I'm sorry. I'm too serious. I keep hitting it.
This is what I love.
Sorry, guys.
Hey yo, I got too fired up. This was a perfect yo, I'm telling you, this is a perfect segment. I didn't know you were gonna go in, but chat, drop the fire emojis. Cause too high, when she get fired up, she get
Yes.
fired up. I love it. She finna tackle the damn laptop, bro. She about to put the microphone in the
No.
chokehold. I don't know if y'all noticed, but we got the microphone
We got a
popping.
microphone.
Hey, let's go.
Right. I got a microphone. Y'all being so mean to me. I was like,
Hey, I don't want to hear a damn thing about I can't hear too high the audience. No, I'm just playing. Let me say this. We appreciate y'all. We heard it.
yes,
Obviously, we
thank
worked
you.
on it and we good to go. And this thing is only going to continue to get better.
Yes.
But to put a bow on this thing, yeah, man. T Sizzle, pay the man. I don't think it should be difficult. I talk about blueprints, right? With tight ends, there's a blueprint with the offensive lineman. Dallas doesn't play. They don't play
Right.
around with these boys. They sign them. Travis Frederick, Tyron Smith, Terrence Steele, Zach Martin. They get paid. The only one who didn't like that were those mid-round dudes that just weren't good enough to get the big payday for Dallas. The Tyler Biadasz, the Connor Williams, the Connor McGovern. Now they went on and had some success
Man,
elsewhere,
Biotish had a
but
fantastic year
but
last
none
year.
of them, but none of them are Tyler Smith. That's
Oh, no,
why
no,
they
no.
decide to move on. And arguably, in my opinion, they upgraded. They upgraded. Not even argue. It ain't argued to me. I think is going to be a better center than Tyler
Yes.
Biadasz. Obviously, Tyler Smith is a better guard than Connor Williams. So they made the right decisions, in my opinion. This is a cut and dry, man. You pay that
Yeah.
man
And I also think
his
you keep
money.
him there. You also too. I couldn't think of a better person to be playing next to for a guy like Guyton to
Yeah.
be like, because Tyler's so smart. He
Mm-hmm.
reads well. His declarations are good. I've sat there in the locker room and talked to him about film, tendencies, all that stuff. He's very smart. I think him being paired with Guyton is healthy for Guyton's development as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You know, for a guy who didn't get Tyler Guyton, who didn't have that veteran tackle in that room that played at a
Mhm.
high level throughout his career, like Tyler Smith did, it is unfortunately up to him, even though he's still a young guy. Like T Sizzle's still figuring this league
He's
out.
just a baby.
Yeah.
How old is he? He came
I
in,
don't even
what,
know if he's
21, right?
25 yet. Is he 25? He
He
might.
came in at
Yeah,
21, Sky.
he was 20, I think, and then turned 21
Yeah, and then he turned
during that
21.
draft process. So he was young. Yeah. So, he didn't have. So now Tyler Smith is taking him, and I think Booker are going to be those leaders in that room. And Booker, like, I'm coming in and be the leader
Y'all,
right
Booker
goddamn
is
now.
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. So
He a good kid, but he don't play no games.
good. What's that childish Gambino? Good.
Good.
But yeah, man. So Cowboys Nation, this was a fired up one here. Do us a favor in the chat. We played the pay or pass game, pass or pay. Let us know between Jalen Tober, Deron Bland, Tyler Smith, and Jake Ferguson. Would you pay or would you pass? Now, we operated under the assumption of the Cowboys. Like, what would the Cowboys do? But I'm asking, what would you guys do down in the chat? And y'all know me. I'll try to be involved as much as I can down there to go back and forth with you guys. But this was one of them ones, too.
I'm stressed out, and I don't like having to think like this. Pay him all. I can't. I hate having to feel like this.
Hey, look, don't get too comfy because I'm gonna be putting your ass in the blender some more. Don't get too comfy. Yeah, we gonna have these conversations. Yeah, but this ain't that type. Hey, for those out there, HR department, ain't no HR department on Skywalker still on this, but HR department, that wasn't like a real threat. We just playing.
Yeah,
but
we just playing.
The object here is to have sometimes difficult discussions, make you think, and hopefully within that we learn some things, whether that be with the viewers, amongst ourselves, what we see out here in these streets, and just have some conversation that pushes things forward and maybe bring some things to light that maybe aren't. And I try to do that as much as I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and gives us things to be on alert for.
Yeah.
During the season and be paying attention to. Um, like I'm not gonna lie, I'm not someone that's like well versed in the contract talks and stuff like that. That's a part of doing this thing that I'm still trying to get a handle on because
Right.
baby, me and numbers don't go together.
They said there will be no math.
No,
We're gonna bring some math to it though. We're
there
gonna
be
bring some math to
math.
it.
There be math.
The episodes will be uploaded if you can't watch us via YouTube. They will be uploaded on the podcasting platforms, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you don't have YouTube Premium where you can still listen as if it was just audio, then please do us a favor. When we put those on there, go give us 5 stars if you're fooling with the pod. Take a listen, download. We're trying to build it up over there as well. So I'm going to make sure I stay on that and have not only, my shows that I do from a live standpoint, but all of our shows will be uploaded there as well. So we can reach as many people as possible. Because I understand not everybody can watch, visually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if I was deployed, I would be listening.
Exactly. So. Exactly. Shouts out to all of ours that are serving for this country. Man, Tuai, fantastic. I'm excited to run this back. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Huh?
I'm excited. Yeah, I can't wait to go back and listen.
Why?
Because you was fine.
I hated it.
Yeah, you was. Hey, we're gonna get up out of here. This has been episode 6 for Tuai. I am Sky, and this has been the Sky and Tuai show. We out. Love you. Peace.
I didn't know what I wanted to do with my hands.
Do my hands.